We are live. Happy Memorial Day, Raven.
Happy Memorial Day.
How are you?
I am lovely. It's a beautiful day. It was a beautiful weekend, so I can't complain. The sun is shining. I should be outside right now, really. Should have brought my computer outside.
Maybe we'll start doing Monday morning garden talks. That'd be fun.
I would love that. I don't have a garden, though.
Oh.
Yes.
I was thinking about I was watering my garden yesterday, thinking about watering your garden in Vermont like years ago, actually, because there was a similar layout that we planted, and it just like sometimes you have those time hop moments. It brings you right back, and you're like, huh. But Raven can grow lovely things, including cannabis, which is part of how we created this show, because we would get together and talk, and we would have a toke and a talk, we'd call it, and process shit. And that was the birth of all this. And today it's Memorial Day, and we're going to go get into other things. So we are going to toke with you. I brought a bowl. I think Raven brought a bowl. And yeah, we have other things that we can use too. But part of it is just holding space and releasing. And the first thing we want to say, of course, is Happy Memorial Day again. And thank you to all who have served in our country and other countries that lost their lives in honor of fighting for what they believe in and creating freedoms and rights for us, including this one and many other things. And so grieving is never an easy thing. And a lot of times something that can pair with grief is honor and is memorial. And so it's really nice that we have this day in our country dedicated to it. And we get to actually hold some space on it today because it worked out for our Monday morning show. And I'm grateful for that. We have a couple ideas, a couple topics, a couple things we might want to chat about. If you're here, say hello, drop on in, let us know you're with us. And yeah, what's rising for you, Ray? What's going on?
I'd like to see how, I want to see if people chat or anything. Can I see that on my end?
You should be able to. We don't have any comments yet. If you're here, drop a comment, let us know. And I'm going to share it out too on our stuff in that way, and I'll tag you in it, and that way maybe some of our friends can see it too, because we always got to fight the algorithms, which is always a fun challenge.
All right, I think I see where it is. I'll keep an eye on it. Cool.
We'll keep an eye on it. People are tuning in though, which is awesome. We've got a couple people on and then off, but that's all right. So one of the topics that Raven and I were going to chat about today is relationships and simply transitioning out of relationships. And this can come in all different types of ways. Sometimes it's graduation time right now. There's a lot of people graduating, leaving schools they've been in, moving into jobs or positions or new regions that they've never been familiar with. There's people leaving romantic relationships or friendships. And there's this ebb and flow that can happen if you allow it. Raven and I have been so gifted to experience that. As Raven said, we weave in and out of each other's lives in random, amazing ways. There will be chapters where we talk every day. There will be times we don't talk for a year. There will be times where we just send a random meme and that was it for 6 months. And then we talk every day for a while. Like, there's room and growth for that if we allow it, especially when we step out of attachment. And that's a huge process and part of all of this that we're definitely going to dive into as we jam on things. So what are some words of wisdom that are rising for you, Ray, when we think about all that?
In general, transition is a difficult thing, and it's something that I feel like that's all I usually ever live in. I'm almost more uncomfortable in complacency than I am when my life is a little chaotic. I don't know what that says about my nervous system, but yeah, it's like you said, it comes in so many different forms, in so many different ways. It can be completely losing somebody after they pass. It can be literally just coming out of a relationship. It can be moving far away from somebody, and then it just your routine with that person can change a lot, or just not be existent at all. And there's just so many different dynamics to that. And I just feel like, giving ourselves a little bit of a grace with that, because it is very difficult. It changes everything that you are used to.
Your current reality completely shifts.
Your current reality in that chapter, in that point in time, is just different. And I don't think we realize that that's normal. Like, people think, oh, that's just what happens, but it's really not. And taking that time to really, allow yourself to process and go through that and be okay with the fact that you feel a little fucked up and you feel a little different than you used to about things, is it's needed. And I feel like, us taking this time right now to literally have this conversation and share this with people, and people taking the time to listen about it, is healing in that sense.
I think so too, because grief is one of those things that you have to experience as a human. It's part of the ebb and flow. It's part of the experience. And we all go through it and we dismiss it if we haven't gone through something as severe as someone else. I think a lot of times we really love to compare our grief and then push it away or not give it time or energy because it could have been worse or it wasn't as bad as so-and-so. How do you feel about that?
That is a huge thing. And it's something that, you see all the time, and people do relate their grief to others. Even it could be almost the same exact situation and it is not the same. And we do not process things the same. We are all so unique and so different humans. It's not something that we really should relate anything and compare anything to. We really shouldn't be comparing ourselves to anybody. How we deal with what we deal with in the moments that we deal with them is special to us. And we are the only ones that can control that. And that needs to be respected on all levels through everybody. And it's one of those things that hold that space with people that are grieving, right? They may not understand what you went through and you may not understand what they went through, but hold that space, because that space is so important. And when you have somebody like-minded that has been through something like that, having that space together that's all someone needs. They don't need you to understand what they went through. They just need somebody to understand that it's fucking hard.
And that's just it. Everyone wants part of the way we transmute it is by being seen and heard. We all have advice, experiences, opportunities, things that could come in. But a lot of times when someone's heart is breaking open, no matter what it might be, like Raven said, they just need to be seen and heard. Sometimes you just need to cry, let it out, hang out, hold space. And often we're all trying to figure it out on our own. And if and when we as humans really want help, we ask for it. We go for it. We say, that's what I do with my business. People come to me. It's amazing. I love it. I'm grateful for it. I will always share my own experiences, what I've been through, because that's all I got to offer. And then when it comes to other people, it's about holding that space and letting them. It's so sacred. It's such a sacred thing, especially grief. Our hearts all break a little differently. And I hate it, but you do. As you grow and get older, your heart does get a little thicker. And at the same time, it also expands into an even greater capacity of unconditional love. You get to release attachment. You get to be present. You get to be like, all right, this is a cool experience that I don't know how long it's going to last, but I'm going to enjoy the ride while it's here. And if for some reason it ends, whether it's physical death or a choice or a job or something, you give it the love and the grace that was there before. And that's hard. That's badassery. And we see it in people, and they share their stories and they do it. And I think that's part of the whole sacred journey of grief is acceptance as well, and getting into presence.
Absolutely. Yes. And you saying that, I think we need to lift each other up a little more on that aspect of being badass about having to go through this shit, because it's something that really takes an entire shift in your life. Your whole life changes so much, and it's everyone recognizes it anyway, but being able to tell somebody, you're doing a fucking good job. I hear it all the time. I couldn't imagine. And that's all you got to say is I couldn't imagine, but I'm here for you if you need me, and wherever you're going, good for you. 'Cause it's hard to fucking get up every day sometimes. So I just, the whole purpose of this for me is to be able to let others know that are going through or have gone through or are in the process of going through that, to know, just give yourself that space and give yourself that time and be okay with wherever you're at in the process. And you are a fucking badass, because it ain't fucking easy. And whatever you do and however you process it and however you feel, it's exactly how you're supposed to. So be okay with it, and good luck, because it sucks. but it brings you to such an amazing point too. When you go through something like that, your whole life shifts, your whole life changes, everything changes, and doors open. And you're I have found so many other people that have gone through something like I have, and we're connected now. Like you're going to connect with those people on that level in some sort of way, because it's just what happens.
I know. Hello, Lexi. We're so glad you're here. We love you so much. And something I was thinking about as you were saying that, I was listening, you know, I always listen, and as we listen and respond, everybody experiences this as a human. There's like 1,000 things you want to say and go, and then it gets to a point. But one of the things that stuck with me is I can remember too, in the beginning, we talked about how grief is paradigm shifting. So that means every cell in your body, everything in your mind, body, spirit, soul, it gets everything you knew in that moment gets recalibrated. And all of a sudden you're in this weird void, this weird unknown, and you're not sure what to do. And this can even happen after, we'll give a shout out. Raven and I are going to be, you can catch us at the Om Festival in Southern Vermont last week in July. Yoga, music, meditation. We're releasing the press kit this week. Sea Goddess Healing Arts between Ursula and I and Lexi. We're all going to be teaching, I think, like 6 workshops. We've got all kinds of shit. You can do shadow work with us in person. We're going to have some Venus retrograde special edition things going on with Ursula and astrology and Soul Space Live and wonderful opportunities. We're so excited. But like even that, I went to an amazing retreat. Rebecca Campbell's Rise Sister Rise changed my life. Incredible. And after that, she gave such good advice. And she said, just go home. She's got an accent, an Australian accent. Just go home and be normal. Like go watch your shows, eat the food you want to eat. We all been eating vegan all week up here. Like, you know, and vegetarian. And for some people, they're used to that. Some people not so much. And she just said, go home and be normal. And one of the things that I witnessed and was able to, so honored, I got to hold space with Raven while her husband Kyle was transitioning. And it was wild times. It was in the middle of COVID and people couldn't really go down there as much. And there was all this stuff. And so their house became a bit of a hub. And I got to be the house sitter and the dog watcher and the space holder during all of that. And it was just like, from my side, magical weavings to see the experiences everybody went through. But one of the things that validated what Raven was just talking about is she would come home and want to be normal. She'd come home and like, I'd be like, oh, I made a chicken, or this is happening, or let's just hang out and trim some weed or play a couple cards. Or she'd be like, who are you talking to? What's going on in the boyland? What's happening? And I'd be like, you know, and at first all of us, you know, we feel guilty. We're like, I don't want to share any of my shit with you. Like, what? Like, you know, but then I realized Raven needed that. She's like, I just need to be normal. I need to give and take too. I need some of that energy of what's going on with one of my people. Like, what's happening? And like, we can, I think, in the grief process, especially when you're holding space for other people, we don't have to, we're like, here's a meal, here's a hug. I don't know, like, fuck, you know, we're trying to figure that out. But the people you love will tell you what they need in cool ways, just showing up for them. And not everybody's like Raven. Some people are going to need other things, but you can see what people need sometimes. And a lot of times after radical shift, we need normal. And I don't think she'll mind me sharing this. We're going to be releasing a beautiful episode of a new show called Sea Goddess Spotlights and Soul Stories, where the Sea Goddesses, people in the Sea Goddess community, if they want to share their voice and story, they can. And so I just did a beautiful interview with a woman in our community, Danielle, and we will be releasing that either today or tomorrow, actually. And she talked about how she lost her father, and she tells this story herself, which we're going to be releasing. And she was also the head of the main cast member. She was Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, and she was in the middle of a show and had a show. Like, her dad died that morning. She had a show that night. Her and her brother were still in it, and they still went, because that's what they needed, and that's what they needed in that moment. And like, other people might have judged that, or, well, no, this isn't what you need, or blah, 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 but nobody knows what anybody else needs. And, you know, if she broke down in the middle of that stage, the community would have been there to hold her. They would have understood. And so sometimes it can be uncomfortable talking about these things, knowing what to do, holding space with others. But like Raven said, if you just show up, if you see them, you hear them, you know, do what they ask, and they'll tell you right away. Like, I have one friend, she knows who she is, and then she always wants help, help, help. Everybody showed up to help her. And when she was going through some stuff, but then nobody was doing the dishes the right way. Nobody was doing this the right way, you know, and then right away she was telling everybody how you do it and this and that. This is not you, Raven. I would call you right out. But no, this is not Raven. So this, you know, and it's just interesting because, and even then you're like, oh, like, I don't know what I'm doing, but maybe that person is still just learning themselves in that moment. And that's part of that sacred space holding. And it's okay to be humans and to get frustrated and to know that this is like an experience. Here's Lexi's. She's tuning in with us. She said, I went shoe shopping right after, there it goes, after my aunt passed. Right? Like, it's okay. And a lot of times we need that because we're like, okay, we're adjusting to a new normal. And we need to allow that time for transition.
Yes. Yes. It's something you had said earlier, Mandee. I don't remember what exactly it was because I have the memory of a goldfish. We know this. But you used the term you use the term judgment. And I think that is a huge topic when it comes to grief and how people grieve and how much pressure they're already under, but to be judged on what they're doing and how they're doing it is probably the worst thing that you could do. And if we could just all have that understanding that everybody does it differently and there is no right or wrong way, and whatever they're doing is healing or helpful or whatever for them in the moment, that judgment will just go away. And we don't have that. And it's just so sad that there's these expectations, right, of like what you're supposed to do after your life gets turned upside down. And it's bullshit. And I hope that, if people are going through this, don't listen and don't let anyone's comments or looks or whatever, that's them. That's all on them. That's how they're processing and that's how they're grieving. So we have to give them that respect just as well as they should be giving us the respect. And we're not always going to receive it. But how we respond to it, I think, is important. We have to be mindful of that.
That's the most badass shit about it, I think, is that response thing. Because what's happening is anybody else that's reacting to you, that is a reaction of their own inner reality. That's how they would handle it. That's what they think. Oh, well, we see this all the time. And I get to see this as a spiritual counselor all the time. And I know you'll speak on it too as we keep growing with this show and little stories. But it fascinates me so many times when I see couples that are truly in love or have a true soul connection and true love and are there for one another. And one of them passes within 6 months, another amazing soul connection and twin flame or something else pops up. And because I think so many people judge that, oh, you're over them so quickly. How could you remarry? How could you get closer to this person? How could that happen? And I watched it happen with a lot of people I know, actually. I'm like, I got this whole, all these different couples I've seen and their new partners and how it's just magically all over the world and how it can happen. And I think in our consciousness, when we're used to true, good, healthy love, and we have a true, good, healthy love partner, and we believe in that, and we know that, and we feel that, that's our normal to our rewiring core, we are still open to receiving that energy, even if our current physical partner isn't there. And this is where I believe in multiple partners and past lives and other things and twin flames and certain soul contracts. And maybe, we have our lovely, beautiful friend Kyle, who's always with us and one of Raven's guardian angels and loves of her life. And perhaps, he chose to be here just for a little bit and come. We always joke around because he was an old man and he used to joke around with us about it all the time and everybody knows and stuff. And, I'd be like, well, maybe you did just want to come in, and swoop in. And he's like, well, I think I had an agenda or something like that. Like he would always say funny, cute things like that. And, that love is timeless. It's eternal. Like that's written in the stars. And I just couldn't even imagine him not wanting Raven to be held. I can't imagine that partner not wanting that to happen with so many other people I know too. And I see them give blessings. And then I see us up there in the souls. Okay, well, if we go in, we're going to go for 5 years. We're going to go for 10 years. We're going to get a 40-year one in this lifetime. It's going to be great. And we all have our own different things. And that's why it's so important to honor what your soul and your heart is telling you. And I've seen so many people who had, were married for 20, 30 years and something happened and they lost, to an accident or an illness or something. And then all of a sudden they're rekindling with someone or someone new that they'd always been friends with who also lost who they loved comes in and they have a beautiful, dynamic, independent, amazing relationship. And neither one should take from the other, in my opinion. And so many people judge that so quickly. Oh, well, you shouldn't get married ever again. That was your one and only, that's it, and whatever. I think we're growing out of that. I think the generations are shifting and changing, and we've all been through so much heartache. We're opening up to that more, but there's a lot of stigma around that. Don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah. It's again, that goes back to like these expectations of other people, and we have to honor that. But I honestly feel like, yes, I know my purpose on this whatever world as a human being right now is just like love. Like that's all. That's what I have. That's what I have to give. That's what I've given and gotten in so many awesome, amazing ways. And like, that's it for me. So I would never not receive it or not give it because it was an expectation of somebody else. Like that's not we're here to do what we're supposed to do, like you said. And I find that extremely important. And those are boundaries, and those are, that we set for ourselves, and we don't have to, like, we can be exactly who we are because we want to be that person, and we want to give what we want to give, not because it's the timeline of this bullshit map that some probably old white man made up somewhere along the lines of like how we're supposed to deal with life. There is no fucking map. There is no rules. You got to know what you're here to do and do it out of love.
Boom. It really does. It all comes down to, there's pretty much two choices: love and fear at all times when you get really deep down into it. And maybe Raven, maybe you could speak a little bit more, and I'll share a little more too after you, about learning about how to trust and follow our intuition in our heart, what that's about, and how you know it and trust it and follow it, and then don't give the other shit the time of day. And Lexi, we're so glad you're here and being in this conversation with us. And she thinks that loved ones also send those relationships to us.
I saw that.
Yeah,
very
I do too.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are love.
We are.
So how do you follow your intuition, sister? What's that been like for you?
I honestly, like, it happens through time, right? Like, I just remember this one point in time, Karma, my sister Karma, she's basically
my sister Karma. If you know Raven, you're laughing out loud with us at home right now.
So she's my girl, and she basically just showed me exactly like what not to do and what to do, and was like, "Okay, just fucking listen to me, and then everything will just really work out for you in the end." And she's not wrong. Like, she's like, you have to trust that feeling inside of you, because we all have it. Like, we talk about it. Everybody talks about it. Like, it's there, and you have to trust that. And the more you trust that, the more you receive what you want and what you need in your life. Like, you don't have to struggle for it. And I struggled for a long time, like doing bad things. And, you go through that in life. And then once you stop doing the things that are holding you back from getting what you want, they fall in place for you. So it's one of those things. It takes time, and it takes mindfulness of realizing that that's happening for you, and following it, and doing the work to do the right things when you may not always freaking want to, because that's a whole thing too. Has that little voice in the back of the head that you hear, like, telling you to get your ass up and do this and do that, and you're like, yeah, not today. Yeah, but that's how it started for me, was just realizing if I do the right things and the things that I know deep down inside of me that I should be doing, then I'm going to receive back fully from that. And I have. And that's how, even though the things like my husband have passed away to me, like, that is not, I don't look at that as like a bad thing that happened in my life. It was a really fucking hard thing that happened in my life. But I also received the most amazing love I've ever received. So that outweighs, anything that I see that came from that was negative, because there wasn't.
I love that. Rebecca Campbell talks about it as the agony and the ecstasy. Mm-hmm. And like, you can have both in the same moment, and so many things going on. And that's as you learn, as you grow, like you're saying, it's not good or bad. It just is what it is. And each person has their own view and experience of whatever's happening and going on. And for some people, the best day of their life might be the worst day of someone else's in all kinds of different ways. And that's why this is such an interesting, topic. And I loved, and shout out to one of our other favorite teachers, one of my other favorite teachers, Mel Robbins, because she talks a lot about that autopilot moment where, you have to, if you do not pair an impulse with an idea and actually get physical motivation, life force energy behind it, you don't move, whether that's get out of bed, go change the laundry, let's go make dinner. If you don't act on that within 5 seconds of that thought and you move your physical energy to do it, then 10 minutes later, I should go change the laundry, I should go do this. And you play that game with yourself. Whereas if you just actually show up, and as soon as you trust that, you get that intuitive hit of, all right. And how many times does it happen all the time? Like you see, like, all right, I got my tea right here. And like, you're like, oh, I should move that because it's on the edge of the table and it might get knocked over. Every single time I've experienced this one. You don't move it. 10 minutes later, dog's tail comes over. Terrible, goes into the fucking electric cords. Like, like you're like,
Mandee, this happened to you, didn't it?
Like all the time.
All the time.
All the time till I trusted that shit.
Oh, that's so great. Yeah.
Oh, hi, Emily's here. She said, hi, ladies. Yes, that 5-second is so important. Needed that reminder. And Emily, shout out to Emily. We're going to connect Emily and Raven because Emily is our friend who has her friend who just moved up to Newport. So all of our Newport people, we're going to be welcoming a new community member up that way, Derby area. So, stay in tune because we're weaving magical webs via Michigan. So we're glad you're here and we're holding all this space and we love you all. And so, shout out with all of that for sure. Emily said, awesome. Yay. And what else was I going to say? Oh, 5-second rule. There was one other thing, but whatever. It's gone. It'll weave back in when it needs to.
Usually does.
Always, right? I trust. Oh, that was just it. Trusting our intuition. So for me too, and something I wanted to bring highlight to, we talk about this a lot on Sea Goddess Healing Arts. Raven, I know, is actually studying this deeply, but our actual senses, our feelings, our somatic body, what's going on. That's our first line of intuition. There's a reason they talk about trust your gut. And you can literally feel once you start to really separate and tune in your gut from your heart, from your higher heart, from your mind, from your consciousness. All your chakras start to line up. You tune into those energy systems. We are all capable of this. It takes time, practice, experience. I think part of the reason Raven and I got to radically grow and ascend in our consciousness levels to the point where we're at right now, which none of this is good or bad. We're all in different time, spaces, dimensions, on different planes and things. But I think part of the reason we get to continue to have these evolutionary conversations is because we both throw ourselves into evolutionary experiences. We always choose to go for the move, the change, the shift, all right, well, this could be good, but maybe it could be better. And so both of us, have that little bit of like, let's go for it. And that has rewarded us. Of course, we've had aches and pains and heartbreaks and fuck ups and apologies and all kinds of things. But I think it's rewarded us in being able to choose to shift and to move forward. And that's part of how we got to operate with the grief and how that works, because it does get really connected, though we feel numb at times. It also first comes back in, I think, overwhelmingly somatically in our bodies. Yeah. And that'll be the first thing that comes in. So a simple way where I trusted my, not only knocking over tea and shit like that, but actually I remember moving to Denver and I needed an apartment. I needed it close to my new job and my boyfriend at the time. And this one thing lined up of being roommates with this girl who owned this house, and it all looked perfect. And I was like, wow, it's so beautiful. It looks amazing. It's great. She seems like sunshine. Like, this is going to be awesome. Like, I can't wait. And the whole time though, I wanted to fucking throw up. The whole time my gut hurt. I was like, I don't know. Like, I'm like, yeah, this is all great. And then I'm blaming it on other things. Like, oh, maybe I eat something bad. Maybe I'm getting sick. Like, what's going on? As soon as I left that, I remember looking back. Like, it was like one of those paradigm shifting moments. We have these experiences in our lives. And you remember, I just remember looking at the house. And then all of a sudden, I felt a complete peace as soon as we were driving away. What did I do? I moved the fuck in there.
Yeah, you did.
I ignored I didn't know that was my intuition at the time. Now I know, and I've been through other things that have confirmed that. And oh man, it did not go well for many, many things and reasons. We'll get into that in another story. But I did get to learn and understand my severe anxiety. I got to learn and understand how I was still so afraid of getting attacked or raped or murdered or different things. I had to learn how to claim my independence and sovereignty and pray to Archangel Michael in that time. I had to learn how to deal with some fucking shit. I was really afraid of men at the time and getting attacked again. And she had moved in another roommate without my permission that I didn't know. It was a strange man, and that fucked me up energetically for a while, and I had to like make peace with that. Now I'm really solid in a lot of those situations. That wouldn't even rock my boat today, but back then it was an opportunity for me to start healing and really doing a lot of my own inner work and taking responsibility for what my fears were, what were coming up, and why. I kept it cool. I kept it peaceful. I didn't even let that guy know that I was experiencing any of that until I moved out, actually, or anything. But like, for me, I was like, all right, like, this isn't this person. He's just like, oh, I'm renting a room. Like, cool, And for me, I didn't have, proper like lease or protection or agreement with things. I was just like, I'm renting a room too. It's gonna work out great. Not thinking further. So there were so many opportunities to take responsibility, to dive into my own shadows, to take a look at stuff that was going on, but ultimately to trust my gut. And I always remember from that day forward, and that was probably like right around 2016 or so, 2017. And I had gotten Rebecca Campbell's You Can Work Your Light, which is one of my favorite books too. And she has an exercise where you breathe and receive, and you can download it for free and listen to her magical meditation with it. And I just remember sitting in this basement being like, breathe and receive. All this fucking fear and like, all this stuff coming up. And that's how you do it. This is how you do the stuff. This is how you learn these moments, or how to trust your intuition. And then a lot of times you'll get a feeling, a hunch, something will happen, and that which you need to know will be revealed. Mm-hmm. And I do think too, the way I want to weave that back in also is we need to do that with helping others when they're going through grief. Because others are just trying, when somebody is radically, shifted, whether they got, a huge one is work, man. I think work is one of the hardest ones I deal with people with their heartbreak, because especially in our shitty corporate environments and stuff, people will put 20, 30 years into a company, and all of a sudden one day they're like, your job's been eliminated and we're going to escort you out with security and everything. And like, it dehumanizes them. It devalues them. And we want to say like, it's just business. It's not personal, but actually these people spent the best hours and quality and time and attitudes of their lives for at least 40 hours a week and devoted that. They traded their life force energy for this. Being really sacred about that. And I, all the time with clients, help people a lot because it fucks them up. It makes them feel horrible, and it fucks with your head. And you think you can trust this company, this place you're working with. And a lot of times, like, yeah, things will happen and it's sad, but it's the way you handle it. Like if a job got eliminated, you don't have to show up that way or treat them like, they're some like a criminal or something. So that happens a lot for people. And I've had to help many people deal with that one grief wise too. And like, and trusting themselves and moving forward, or new companies or places to work, and everything changes, your paycheck, all the things.
Yep. Yeah, I feel that. And you're going through such a different part of like everything in your life is so different after, to be able to go back into a work environment. For some people, I know that is like very helpful to have that routine and like to have that, like the normalcy we were talking about earlier, like that is beneficial. But having that pressure, for me, it was having that pressure that I hadn't been in work for so long, and then having to go back, it was like, it didn't even feel like the same life. Right? Like I felt like it would be a different job. And I didn't know if I could do that because everything changed. And I think that's very important that you talk about that with your clients, Mandee, because that's a huge another huge transition on top of what people are already experiencing and going through mentally, physically, spiritually, everything. So, yeah.
And I witnessed Raven, like, because I got to be the house mom a little bit, and I witnessed her running in and out and helping her just make bags of clothes or food or whatever. And then she'd be heading to hospice, and she'd have to balance her fucking job at the same time. And she was lucky she had worked, with people who were part of family and had, like, a lot of grace with her. But there's so many other people too who don't and don't experience that at all. And then all of a sudden you're losing your loved one and your job, your career, things you've worked harder for, because you have to choose between it. And there's all this pressure. And I just feel like in the United States, especially Memorial Day, I feel like we should really start thinking about that.
I have a flag. I want a flag.
Oh my God. I have a flag because I was over at the Brigantine Farmers Market with my dad, and we set up right next to the veterans, which divinely worked out. My pop is a veteran, sailor, built this house. And my Nana said, make sure you go see the veterans and get a flag with a poppy. And I'm thinking like a real poppy, like we're going to plant in the backyard. She's like, they got a poppy sale, but really they just say, they ask for donations, and then they put this cute little poppy on it, Buddy Poppy, wear it proudly. And it proceeds benefits of veterans of foreign wars, veteran and assistance programs. And this is how we create change. This is how we can have a token of talk right now publicly, in both the states we're in, where it's finally now legal. And this is how, so many things can happen. And there's other countries that honor the soul more. There's other countries where you work 6 hours a day and not 8, and you have to have a mandatory 2-hour break in between or something, or hour break. You get mandatory 6 to 8 weeks of vacation. You get, if you work here, if you have a good company and you have some sort of bereavement or some sort of, emergency, FMLA, things like that, sometimes, but a lot of people get fucking wrecked when grief comes in. They lose their jobs, their finances, their homes, their partner, their relationship, everything, and I just feel like we as a people can do a better job of becoming aware of that and creating more support around that when this happens to people for them.
Yep, absolutely.
And I watched, and it was horrible to have to watch Raven, she'd be on the phone and like, it's okay. I hope it's okay. I share this. It's okay. A little bit of some of the things I saw, but like, she'd be literally like on the phone with the hospital, with Dartmouth, blah, blah, blah. Oh, this doctor called. We got him, like, and here he is. And like, I got to talk to him right this second. And then she'd hang that up and have to take a work call. And there'd be work things going on. She'd hang that up. Oh, Kyle's prescription's ready. I got to go get that. She'd hang that up. Oh my God, I got to feed the dogs. I got to vacuum. Yada, yada, yada. I got a Zoom meeting. And then, we've got chemo right now. And like, then when we were really in hospice and Kyle was just at Dartmouth, like, it was like, it was so hard to even hold the space and watch Raven go through it. All I could do is just vacuum and cook and love the dogs. And,
I appreciate that so much.
But it wasn't fair. And all I could think is, this isn't fair. Why don't we have something where Raven and every single other person who goes through this shit gets to go in a holding zone? Okay, your job's held. Okay, this is happening. Okay, here's some more financial support. Okay, and this is where small town comes together. And I love it because we're getting away from that in community and cities. And in Vermont, it's so nice because even if you got your trauma drama, everybody hates this person, that person, they come together when something like this happens. And there were people dropping off food all the time. I woke up one morning and our beautiful mutual friend Jay Knight was outside with a class of high school kids trimming all the hedges. And at the same time, I'm like, oh shit, I just got high. It was like early morning. I watched the sunrise. I was hanging out, looking at the lake. They lived in this beautiful property and I just smoked. And I'm like, I didn't have any clients that morning. I'm just chilling. And all of a sudden you're like, and I go outside and I'm like, oh my God, I smell like weed. There's all these high school kids here. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And then the teachers are like, I wish we could smoke right now too. No worries. And all the kids are like, we're hanging off trees. And it was just such a beautiful moment. And it was just such a beautiful like time where you're like, people get together and shit comes in and community happens. And in Raven small town, they are all loved regardless of their beliefs or who's fighting with who or whatever's happening. They all come together and they all love each other and they all show up. One of our grief moments, one of Raven's dogs got out, and it was the moment of breakage that we needed. And so much happened. It was right before Kyle had transitioned, and it was a really long thing because they literally told Raven and Kyle's family and Kyle, like, all right, be ready. It's gonna be a couple days. And it was like close to a month, man. A month. It was a long time, many weeks. And so there's this breaking point, and like the last thing I want to do is call Raven, of course, and be like, so your dog's out. And she was like, and like here come the floods, and here comes the rains, and here comes, and that release happened, and she posted on Facebook, and every person up and down, all over, flashlights everywhere. It was like the army was outside, like this dog was gonna be found, and it happened, and it was beautiful. And these are the times where community can really be amazing and a thing, and we can be there to support one another, even outside of our stupid traumas and dramas or beliefs or whatever, and just show up in the human aspect of it when we're going through this. So there's so many things I got to witness during that experience, but those were both very transformational.
Yes. Yeah, that was I was completely mind blown at the support that this community gave, the time, the effort, the fund, everything. It was amazing. And then different ways, like it's unfortunate that we have to do these things. I mean, it's not unfortunate. It's fortunate because it actually really does show like the raw, real, like love that people can have for each other and care about each other when there is no other option, right? We don't have that other option. So it's huge. And, over the years, I feel like it has gotten so much bigger too. Like we are listening and people are showing up and people are, setting up fundraisers and just doing all of these things out of their own time. Like we get so stuck in like this loop of what we're supposed to do with our day to day. It's like those people that take that time out of all of that shit to give to other people, like it's just so refreshing. And that's what we should be doing. We shouldn't be spending our time with the stupid day to day 40 hours. You give so much of your time to work. That is like, I know we're going to have like a whole show on that specific topic because it's going to be a whole thing, but like time is so important. And especially, anyone that bringing it back to grieving knows how important time really is because we're not promised it. And we really this world needs to really focus on what we're doing with our time because it's crazy. And it's a lot of it is wasted. So much of it is wasted.
On the programs they want us to believe, on the bullshit, on the lies, on the stupid trauma drama, on the lowest vibrational feeling you can feel, the lowest are guilt, shame, criticism, and fear. In our current society that we've all co-created together, of course, there's hires that be that perpetuate this and keep it all going, but we all co-create it and believe in it together too. And we just tear each other down and ourselves down, and we're afraid of things, and we distract with stuff that removes our consciousness. And now we have like a 3-second attention span with our instant gratification, with our scrolling and shit. But at the same time, so many of us feel that, know that intuitively, and are starting to make changes. And we're like, I don't think this is the way. They're telling me this is the way, but I don't know. And to bring us full circle, we got about 5 more minutes to wrap it up here. But we were talking about relationships and different things. And Raven was had mentioned right before we went live that it's so fascinating when some things end, how new things start and then old things rekindle or come back in.
Mm-hmm.
It's cool, right?
And it happens so many times. And like we're not that old. Like my soul feels like it's like 104, but I'm only 36 years old.
I'm only 37. We're babies.
I'm such a baby, and like already like feeling and knowing and experiencing the things that I have in my life, it just blows my mind what's to come. Like if I am gifted that time, then it's crazy. Again,
Time's it's so interesting because it's our most valuable resource here on Earth School. And it also doesn't exist much outside. Like I do believe, we all have our own beliefs. I believe we're very infinite outside of this, and we're in this Earth School realm and this time for these experiences. But time is the most valuable resource, and how we spend it. And if you are, we all do it. If you spend an hour thinking about what so-and-so fucking said behind your back for fucking 30 minutes, That's gone. And we just put energy that isn't serving you. That's creating resentment and guilt and shame and different things that are stewing and festering in your body and fucking up your cells and creating disease because of our thoughts. It's not fun or easy, but we're all on this amazing paradigm shifting journey of consciousness as a collective and as a people and as a human race and community, where we're all starting to learn that and starting to learn where we're spending and investing our time and thoughts, especially our thought energy and our mind capital, and where we're putting that, and then what is showing up and doing and reflecting.
Yeah.
And that's literally what it means to, like, all right, not give a shit. All right, I'm over that. All right. And like, of course, there can be dangerous dissociation. There can be times where we are just, not dealing with shit and blocking it out. But then there's times where you're like, all right, I've given this some thought, some time, and I'm done giving it my trauma, my drama, and my energy.
Good moments.
Know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, last but not least, how about we pull a card for everybody today?
Let's do it.
And actually, in honor of Kyle, too, he loved when we pulled a card for the day. So, from the Rose deck from Rebecca Campbell. Rose without thorns. I'm going to read from the book for this one. So this is from the Rose deck from Rebecca Campbell, one of our favorite teachers. And she's got a new deck. I haven't gotten it yet. Healing Waters coming soon for here. But this one is from the Rose Oracle. It's beautiful. All right. Let me see if I can. I see in there, but all right, here we go. There we go. Rose without thorns. You have a right to your joy, peace, sweetness of life. Most roses have thorns that protect the plant. When you walk past it, it's so easy to get caught in their spiky stems, as if thorns themselves are an initiation for the observer to get the breathtaking beauty and the scent of the queen of all flowers in full bloom. However, there are a small number of roses that are unlike most, possessing few or no thorns. And that's what this card is all about. The Rose Without Thorns is an invitation to dive straight into the sweetness of your life, to rest into the softness, to enjoy the delicious fragrance, to rest in and relish in what it means to currently be alive in this body, to embrace all the beauty and bliss that life has to offer. You have the right to your joy, and the Rose Without Thorns wants you to take every ounce of it right in now, to celebrate and to lose yourself in the sweetness of your life. This is a rare moment in the time of deep peace and enjoyment. You're being called to take a taste of all that it has to offer, to drink it all in. You deserve every drop. You've worked for this moment. Embrace it in now with open arms. It's safe for you to enjoy this, to welcome this, to embody all of this. And while life is ever changing and forever inviting us to grow, right now your lesson is to be in delight of it all. Rose transmission. Raven, will you repeat after me? And then our viewers can do it at home too if they want.
Of course.
Place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. I have a right.
I have a right.
To my joy.
To my joy.
I appreciate.
I appreciate.
And I drink in the sweet nectar.
And I drink in the sweet nectar.
Of my life.
Of my life.
And so it is.
And so it is. That's a good one. I'm a fan. That's a good one.
Maybe you could say our final words of how does that resonate with you as someone who's been through a lot of
it's perfect. It's basically everything that we've been saying, and don't, it's a fucking hard thing, but you have to do it in grace, and you have to do it the best way you know how, and you have to be okay with that. And I think honestly, too, going through that, like, gratitude was probably the biggest thing that I truly learned through that. And being grateful for those little moments of bliss and those little moments of light and love, and diving into them. You have to do it. and it's so important. And yeah, I resonated with that card very much so. That's what came up for me, the gratitude piece.
Beautiful. And you're going to have the highs and the lows. And sometimes during grief, even then, there's still moments of sweetness and love and laughter.
Absolutely.
So enjoy it, bask in them. And it's a nice kickoff to Memorial Day and summer. And thank you all. Thank you, Lexi and Emily, for being here, for riding with us today. Thank you all who are tuning in after this. And please give us a like, a share, a follow on Sea Goddess Healing Arts. There is a page where you can find all of our video shows, and you can find the playlist of Raven and I's show for Good Morning. And it's so wonderful. So big love to all of you. Thank you, Raven. And we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.